Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us for this campus conversation. Um, I just have a couple of housekeeping things before we get started, and I will turn it over to Dean Masterson. If you haven't already done so, please feel free to share your location and your relationship or year of graduation from CMU. It's fun to see where people are located. A lot of times we'll get individuals from across the country, California, what have you. We do have everybody muted automatically, not to silence you, just helps with feedback. Please feel free to use the raise your hand function, unmute yourself, share a question or something in the chat throughout the presentation, or towards the end, we will have time for question and answer. Also, we are recording this session. We like to record for those individuals that may want to review the session again or are unable to attend. A lot of times some things come up, so that has come in handy. So we are recording this, and we will send out an email after the presentation with a survey, if you wouldn't mind completing that, the recording, and the PowerPoint slides for the presentation. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn it over to Dean Masterson.
Thank you, Allison, and welcome everyone for taking time out of your busy day to come and talk with us about athletic training. As Allison said, this is a campus conversation. This is actually the first one that our college is actually doing. So in many ways, it's kind of a guinea pig trial. So welcome to that. And if things happen to go sideways for a second, it's because it's our first time. So but things are good. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Masterson. I am Dean of the Herbert H. at Grace Adele College of Health Professions. I've been at CMU since 1999 as a faculty member. I was actually the clinical anatomist for the physician assistant program for several years. I'm starting to admit people here as we're going along, which is great. And ultimately, I got into administration, and I've been in the dean's office since 2007, either as an interim dean or as an associate dean or as the dean. So I've been around the college for a while, and our college has lots of great programs. It just so happens that because this is our first campus conversation, we are going to go with a program that has been around for 50 kind of plus years now. You may have seen it in the Central Light. It was highlighted there just recently. It's been on the website. It's been at football games. It's been a pride of our really, it's been one of the founding fathers of our college for years, which is awesome. So we started off with athletic training. We have Dr. Blaine Long here. He is our program director, as well as the chair of the School of Rehabilitation and Medical Sciences. I actually had the pleasure of helping hire Dr. Long back in 2013. He's been an outstanding faculty member and a great colleague to work with. And we're actually kind of friends off campus. So it's cool to have Blaine doing the first one for us. So welcome, Blaine. So today, again, we're talking about athletic training. Blaine does have a PowerPoint he's going to share. And then I will be silencing myself. And at some point, we'll have some Q&A. And enjoy the PowerPoint and the presentation. Thank you, Blaine. It's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody who is out there in the Zoom world and taking part in this event. I'm looking through this list, and it's great to see some of the names and some of the alumni from CMU, some from our college, some from elsewhere. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and share my slides. And we'll get going. All right. As with always, I think people do with Zoom, I assume you can see the slide, the first slide. So thumbs ups and heads ups, and that works. So as Dean Masterson said, today is Campus Conversations with athletic training. And as mentioned, I'm Blaine Long, the director of the athletic training program and representative chair for our School of Rehabilitation and Medical Sciences. So this project has been a work in progress, and as we met to discuss what we wanted to talk about with this campus conversation, I was asked to give a brief history. And when you're talking about a program that's been around for 50 years, or 51 years actually this year, with all of the great people who have come through this program, I'm like, okay, a brief history that can add a lot of challenges to trying to represent and be representative, I should say, of the program and what we've been doing over time. So to kind of give people a little bit of history of the program, in 1973, Ken Kopke introduced athletic training as a minor. I see Kendra and Ryan, who are part of today's event. It's great to see you, or at least see that you're taking part in this event, and a lot of the work that your grandfather and father had done in developing this program. But in 1976, at a conference at Penn State, there was a presenter, Ron Sindri, and he presented this idea of an athletic training major. At that time, Ken was the head athletic trainer at CMU, and he was also in attendance at that presentation. As the story goes from Ron, he talks about how Ken came up to me and asked him about the presentation and said, "Hey, I want to have breakfast with you tomorrow." And that conversation kind of went into fruition and built from that. And like I said, I'm giving you a brief history. I would love to give you the extensive history that goes into this. And if you want to know more of the details and everything that went into that conversation, I would encourage you to see Ken's Hall of Fame speech from the NATA. You could easily find it through a Google search, or if there's information that you want to learn about that or locating it, I'd be more than happy to send you this particular link to where you can learn more about that. But kind of going into a little bit more of that history, during the meeting, as it goes by Ron, we met the next morning, and Ken said, "We want you to come to CMU and set up the first major curriculum in the United States." In 1979, the institution CMU supported an athletic training program and formulated the first sports medicine major. At the time, Ken has developed the CMU's minor in athletic trainer, while at the same time serving as the head athletic trainer, and served in that role for 16 years. Now, throughout time, over the years, there have been a number of different faculty who've been supportive of this program and who have come through here. So these faculty staff over time who've supported this include individuals such as Denise Webster. Denise served as a program director. She served as an interim associate dean for our college. She oversaw the assessment for the university for a few years. So she had been an integral part, not only with athletic training, but CMU as a whole. Down the hall from me, Emily Webster. I always refer to Emily as my left and right hand. She is the jack of all trade, master of all. She will say that she's not the master of all, but I correct her many times. But she has been an integral part to the growth of this actual program. Marlene Van Dyke, who's now one of our faculty. Marlene has been or was the athletic trainer at Mount Pleasant High School for a number of years. She started teaching some classes for us for a short time, and then we finally recruited her over here to the program to be a full-time faculty member. Christina Chapsky was one of our clinical coordinators at one time and served in that role, and is now serving as a preceptor and an athletic trainer down in the Henry Ford. Former program director David Kaiser, and some of our other individuals with John, Greg, and Dr. Keating, who had been in the athletics setting and providing care for a number of years. So when we're talking about this program and building on this program and discussing where it's gone over the last 50 years, I would be remiss if I didn't, at least include all of these individuals and all the great work that they've done and what they're currently doing to support this actual program. As we go on to other people, I think everybody on here knows Dr. Shingles. Dr. Shingles began teaching in the Department of Physical Education and Sport and spent 15 years in this role as the athletic training program director, as well as chairing the school for 7 years before I stepped into this. I kind of speak in the same tone as Dr. Shingles, and her words are, it was so important to me to understand and maintain the legacy of our program, the excellence that's expected of it. And you know, those are her words, but I would say the same thing. I think it's important to understand the history of where we came from, and at the same time, you know, keeping that with respect of knowing where we're going in the future. I again would be remiss to say, you know, Dr. Shingles is also in the Hall of Fame. She loves to talk about her experiences with CMU, and I encourage you to listen to her Hall of Fame speech just as much as Ken's, and the work that she's done, and the things that she's done in that particular role as program director, being the first African American female in the Hall of Fame. I think that's just great things and speaks volumes of what this program has been. Now, building on that program, we're kind of making that switch. You know, it's bittersweet, but the future of athletic training, we are actually teaching our last class of our BSAT, or Bachelor's of Science in Athletic Training. That cohort with Jakara, Kennedy, Trinity, Jillian, and Rebecca, they're all out on their last, what's referred to as their internship experience now. They will be the last class of the bachelor's who are seeking their certification. But with that, we have to look into the future, and that future of athletic training is the new requirements in which we have to follow. And those new requirements is that all athletic trainers who are graduating from an institution will possess a master's degree. So we started this process a number of years ago in developing the master's in athletic training. And we have two lines in which we offer. We have what's referred to as our 3+2. So you're here for undergraduate for 3 years. That then you do your 2-year master's. It's a BSAT, MSAT. And we also have which our standalone 2-year MSAT program. So students at any university across the country, as long as they meet the prerequisite requirements, are able to come here to CMU and earn their Master's of Science in Athletic Training. On top of that, one of the things that regards to what our students have to do according to our accreditation is an immersive experience. And it's interesting to talk about that because this is a new requirement, but CMU has always been doing this. We've been doing an internship experience, which I just described what our students are doing for the last bachelor's group, but our students have always been doing this. We're actually implementing 2, where students get this immersive experience when they first come in the summer, after they take some classes, and they're assigned to a preceptor who's working with a particular sport at different universities. And then on the tail end of their experience, which is the last year or last semester that they're here, they will have an opportunity to seek out immersive experiences that they're really interested in and try to align that with the educational experience and the job setting that they want. So if it's Division I athletics, Division II, Division III, if they want to work in a clinic, they want to work in a high school, if there's, you know, a particular sport that really sparks their interest in what they want to do. You know, we have a number of affiliation agreements with different locations, and we can align those students and try to educate them on what these different settings have to offer. So it's great to have this in regards to our curriculum. Now, another awesome thing about what's going on is we have that first cohort of master students here right now, with you can see within this picture. One of the interesting things about this master's program is that the national average of a MSAT program is approximately 10 students. We're excited to announce that we actually have in this picture 22 students. We're double the national average. We're actually one of the largest programs in the country. And we're actually looking at this within our second cohort. With our second cohort, we could see numbers similar to this, but we see large enrollments. We're seeing a lot of interest from people in the state, and we're seeing a lot of interest from people out of state. I get phone calls from people, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, from locations and states all the way from Utah to Virginia. I've had some conversations with students from Arizona, from Maine, and all of these different locations who've expressed interest in coming actually here to earn their graduate degree or their master's degree in athletic training. Now, with these changes that's required for all students to seek out the master's, this also includes some curricular changes. So in programs today, or in today's climate, there's a lot more emphasis on things in which we have to teach them. And this is accordance with our accrediting body. So things such as emergency care. One of the things that we're going to start teaching our students is how to do stitches. And as our practice acts grow within our state, these are things which may be included. Other advanced techniques such as orthopedic general medical assessment. A lot of times when people think of an athletic trainer, they have this mind that they're the individuals who may be going out in the field or sitting on one end of the bench. But a lot of times we're doing things in regards to whether it be an endocrine condition, whether it be a dermatological condition, whether it be a neurological condition. So more things than not just orthopedics, but looking at other aspects and increasing our knowledge in the area of general medical assessment. And talking with some of our other faculty within the college, I've had a lot of great conversations with the program director of our PA program. I've worked with our PT program and had some conversations too about other possibilities of getting engaged with our College of Medicine as well. Other things in regards to what we're going to do is increase some of our hands-on techniques with manual therapy. A lot of times in athletic training curriculums, this is kind of tied into a class. We actually have a separate class where students are going to do a lot more within these aspects. Interpretation of research. So one of the things in regards to what we talk about with students is we're not trying to make you a researcher unless you really want to, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be able to interpret the knowledge of what's being discussed or described in research articles. Within our profession, we have to look at things from a perspective of quality improvement, quality assurance, and how are we doing things that are innovative. And when we look at these particular things and innovation and quality improvement, that improvement comes through what are we doing different, what are we doing changes, and we're not being that same person over and over and over and getting caught in doing things that relate more along the lines of a tradition. So that's where research can really come in and we can get a better understanding of what's going on within that particular area. Diversity concerns and issues and cultural competence. If you've ever been at CMU, you know Dr. Shingles, this is her cup of tea. This is her area of content expertise. But making sure that our students have an understanding of the changing climate of what's going on with patient health care, implicit bias, different levels of socioeconomic status in regards to the healthcare, and being able to identify those in the culture that we live in today. And then the last thing, like I mentioned too, is what's our immersive clinical experiences and students grasping the understanding of what it feels like to work in those particular settings that, they want to go into. So a lot of what these curricular standards and this increased identity of what's going on in today's climate, this brings a lot of new things as well. And one of those new things is increased emphasis on faculty contemporary expertise. The model that I came through, and I think many people came through, is their athletic trainer that they had classes with would also be at the sports in those afternoons. And then they would see, what they did in the classroom. They would see what's going on in the clinical setting. And then they would integrate some of that, the next day or maybe another few days later in a particular class. It's a little challenging to do that nowadays because with the increased emphasis on contemporary expertise, a lot of times when people are teaching their classes, we're following more of a medical or from an academic side, we're following more of a university or academic model where you have individuals who have an expertise in a particular class, they teach that content, and then students are going into their clinical practice and integrating that. With that particular model too, myself, our clinical education coordinator, Dr. Hamlin, are communicating quite often with our preceptors who are out there and discussing these are what students are doing in their classes, as they're doing these things in their particular classes. If there's questions that they have or you have about the things in which they're learning, please let us know so that we as faculty can communicate that with the students rather than having basically like a separation or divide. So again, we're really focusing more on integrating our clinicians who function in that aspect, and then our academicians who function in that aspect of the athletic training profession. Other things that we're doing is we're working on increasing our identity. Being a program that is actually a leader. A lot of times when we think about leadership, we think about an individual and how that individual is a leader. Well, we're looking at the program as a whole. A couple things that we're doing right now is increasing or trying to really build up this dual enrollment opportunity. A lot of times in regards to students who go to high school as they're in their junior year or their senior year of college, they're presented with opportunities to take maybe a biology or a chemistry or some type of math class that's a dual enrollment class that gives them some college credits while at the same time being in high school. Well, what we're trying to do is why don't we do that within some of our healthcare professions? So as part of our BSAT, MSAT 3+2, we have a class that's called ATR 150. We have it offered on campus, but we also have it offered HighFlex, which is an opportunity where we're doing basically right now, or they can take it remotely. And we're also going to present that class as an online asynchronous. So students in their high school, if they're interested in sports medicine, they're interested in athletic training, they can take this class, learn about the profession, learn about some of the basics, soft skills of what it takes to be an athletic trainer. And then when they come to CMU, for example, they have one of the classes taken care of, and we can then build on that class and some of their experiences as they work towards getting into the master's. Through discussions within this particular dual enrollment, working with our Associate Dean, Dr. Zimmerman, we've also looked into building our concurrent enrollment. So we have alumni, just like many of you, who are interested in athletic training, and they're also interested in presenting this class and teaching it as a college class at their schools. And currently we have two, one that's around the Detroit area, and then one in Lansing, two instructors who are teaching this class to actually high school kids. So they have these opportunities to take this class, and again, it's giving them a version of what a college class is like in high school. It's relevant, obviously, to healthcare, and from what I've heard so far, we've had some students who've really enjoyed this, and I've talked to a few who have already indicated that they're actually coming to CMU. Another thing that we're doing is we've become members of what's referred to as the AATE. The AATE is an organization of faculty. This group provides educational opportunities to faculty and helping them integrate what they're doing in their classrooms. So in athletic training, we obviously have the NATA. We also have the AATA. And with this AATA, again, what their goal is to help us, myself included, on what we can do to become better educators for our students who want to go out into clinical practice. And a lot of that has to do with skills in which myself and many of us were not taught coming through our education. So our program has been successful. We've had quite a bit of success from our faculty, our staff. We have a number, like I've showed you with Ken and Dr. Shingles, who have been Hall of Fame recipients. We have alumni who are Hall of Fame recipients as well. You'll notice that within the fall issue of the Centralite. We have faculty who are textbooks authors. Both Dr. Shingles is working on some additional text right now. And I have just published been co-author of the 5th edition of our orthopedic assessment textbook, a book that's often used in many healthcare programs. I'm currently working on another chapter for a strength and conditioning organization as well. Emily Webster, myself, as well as Dr. Shingles have all been recipients of teaching awards, whether it's been at CMU, whether it's been here, within our district, or on the national or state level. So we've had a number of individuals who've been awarded those, and then service awards. And I was a recipient of a service award. Dr. Shingles a recipient of award this last summer. And as I mentioned, NATA inducted the first African-American woman into the Athletic Training Hall of Fame. That's Dr. Shingles. So the program has been very successful. Now, when we talk about the faculty, I would be wrong if I didn't obviously include our students as well. Kayla Phillips here this summer with our outgoing president for the Michigan Athletic Trainers Society, received the Outstanding Young Professional Award. We've had students who have been recipients of the Michigan Athletic Training Society scholarships. They've also been recipients of grants. We've had students win awards for the Great Lakes Athletic Trainers Association and our NATA, the National Athletic Trainers Association. And we've had a number of students win scholarships, a number of students win grants. CMU Provost Research Award. We've had 3 students. I would probably guess we're the only program on campus who's had 3 students who've actually won this award. The first 2 students were 2 students of mine. One's an athletic trainer currently at Buffalo for men's basketball, and the other one is working with the Olympics up in upstate New York for USA Hockey. But they were interested in doing a research award. They came to me, we talked about it, and they were recipients of that. We've had 4 students win National Writing Competition Award for original research. So we've been excited about those opportunities for those students and presenting those awards to them and seeing them receive those awards at the national conferences. And then when we look at the program, CMU program, and then the Michigan Athletic Trainers Society with Dr. Shingles, myself, and Kayla. Dr. Shingles winning, being the recipient of the DEI award. And not only was she given the award was actually named in her honor. She did not know when we were at the particular event. And the last thing it's kind of interesting in regards to CMU is we've had a Provost Assessment Award, and this is an award for anybody can apply for. I think in 2013, 2014, the program was the first to actually receive this award. 3 years later, we received the award again. 3 years later, we received the award again. No program on campus has won this award 3 times. And a lot of that work has to do with the great things that Emily Webster has done to support this program. So as we continue, the athletic training profession and things in regards to what we're doing, the athletic training profession is in need of healthcare services. I get phone calls from individuals all across the country. Our program identity is continuing to grow. Like I said, matter of fact, I think it was last week, I had a student from Utah State call me and say they were interested in coming here for athletic training. I've had conversations with people in Maine, Virginia, Arizona, who've all wanted to communicate with me and say, hey, I'm interested in coming to CMU in your athletic training program. And these are conversations that I have often on the telephone. The employment opportunities are out there at every single level. I've had conversations again with people across the country, especially those even here in town, who are saying, Blaine, we want your students. Do you have any students? Can we talk with your students? And I talk with our students and I tell them often, hey, the jobs are out there. And if you're looking for something, let me know. The challenge with that is as students go into their immersive experiences, their internship experiences, nowadays, these students are being hired right by the place in which they're working. So when we look at job placement, our job placement rate is pretty much 100%, and it has been that way for at least the last 3 years. So we're super excited about that and all the opportunities that's providing for our students. Our goal is to continue that support. So our hope is to continue having employers seek out our CMU graduates, especially when they're thinking of athletic training here within the state and elsewhere. And with that support, obviously, there are opportunities in regards to what can happen to continue that. We have different scholarships that go towards our students, from the Ron Sindri to the Shingles family to the Reed Phillips family. To the Keating. So each one of these are award scholarships that people can donate to if they have any interest in continuing to support the students. We also have funds that we can support the program as a whole through the dean's office. So if these are things that interest you, or things that you like to see, or if there's other things that you want to learn about the program, I'm happy to have a WebEx or a Zoom or a phone call or converse with folks via email. With that, I appreciate your time. Thank you for expressing interest in the athletic training program. If there's any questions, I will stop sharing. If there's anything that you want to put in the chat, you're more than welcome to as well. But thank you.
Thanks, Blaine, for that very you could spend hours with the history of this program, and you did a nice job with a mile high overview. So thank you for that. Are there any questions or people have for this? Yes. No? Thought I saw something pop up. Somebody's got to have a question.
Ryan, I see your statement. Fire up grandpa. You're absolutely right, man. Your grandpa started it all. Him and Ron. And like I said, it was a brief history, and I would love to go back and more and have some of those conversations, especially some of the conversations I had with him that first year I was here on the sidelines. He did a lot of work to support this program and build this program. And like I said, if anybody's interested in learning more and going into even more details about the efforts that he made with GM and his first contract there, I would encourage you to listen to the Hall of Fame speech.
Blaine, can you speak to the interest in the 3+2 versus the traditional 2 years master's degree?
Yeah, so we have two options. Like I mentioned, the 3+2 option is for those students who are obviously here. One of the nice things I think about that 3+2 is students get an opportunity to learn who we are. They come in, they take classes with myself, with Miss Marlene Van Dyke and Emily Webster. They'll start to get to know some of the other faculty, and they kind of get a sense of our personalities. They get a sense of the CMU community, what college life is like here, and they get that CMU culture. And I think that's great in regards to the 3+2. There's a financial advantage to the 3+2 as well. Students who are in their fourth year, so they're kind of in that balance between going into straight master's graduate work and still in their undergrad. They're still paying an undergraduate tuition rate, which is different than any other program across the country, which is a great opportunity to obviously be a little bit more efficient with your funds and seeking out those particular educations. The 2-year program right now or the 2-year master's program, we have students right now from different locations across the state, and they have just basically integrated themselves really well with the students who are already here. So it's been a great first cohort, of great first experience with these students. And we're excited about, like I said, where this program is going to go with the 3+2 and obviously with that standalone 2 as well. When we have students who are applying into this program, similar to other programs like PA and PT, we use what's called a centralized application system, or CAS.
Mm-hmm.
And in that first year, and kind of giving people an idea of where we're going, we had 19 students who were in that system, which is fairly low. I think I looked a couple days ago, and we're around 50 to 55 who started to express interest in this program. So we've not only doubled that number for what we've done in the past.
At what point in time do the students in the 3+2 actually have their internship?
So the students in their experience where they're actually getting their hands on, they'll do it on 2 times. So like all other graduate level healthcare programs, we go year round. So we start in the summer and we'll go fall, spring. We'll do the next summer. We give them about a week off so they can figure out some break and get that in. And then we go back into the fall and the next spring. The first experience they have is they'll come into class in the summer, and we'll be in class for about 3 weeks. After that 3 weeks, they'll then go into an assigned location. So we'll assign them to individuals at CMU Athletics who are doing preseason sports, Alma College, or Northwood. So they have an opportunity to be in the Division I. We have some in Division II and some in Division III. That's their first one. The other one that they'll do with that immersive / internship experience is the last semester that they're in here. So it's the second year in their spring semester. They will go to a site it could be CMU Athletics, but it could also be anywhere else that we have agreements with. And they will basically have a 40-hour work week and have a real idea of the experiences of what they're going to be doing for a career. So they're not kind of surprised. They're not going to be, thrown off by what the job is going to look like once they leave here. So when we're talking about hands-on experiences and those educational experiences that are really in tune with their profession, I can't think of anything better.
I know you mentioned that. I just wanted to clarify. I was not quite sure where they were in the undergraduate portion of their program, and that makes perfect sense because they're really basically in graduate school by then. There are a couple of questions in the chat. I don't know if that's Allison or is that myself in charge of that?
I can go ahead and read. Pam Murray has asked, is it difficult to find immersive clinical experiences and clinical rotations for the student?
Is it difficult? No. That's your short. So we do a couple things. One, we already have a number of agreements with locations all across this state. From Henry Ford to My Michigan Health to McLaren Health with the hospital systems, we have agreements with all of those. So if students have interest in working within those particular settings, we align them with, a lot of times it's our alumni who are in those settings, and we kind of have a conversation and communicate with them about, could you want to work in a clinic setting? Do you want to work in more of a hospital setting? Do you want to align us with a high school setting? We have those. If students have expressed interest in collegiate settings, obviously here at CMU is an opportunity for those students, but we also have agreements with MSU and U of M. So if they want to work at a larger Division I, they could do that. If that's too big, and that for some students it is. So what could happen is they say, hey, I really like my experiences at Alma. They could go back to Alma or say, I really like my experiences at Northwoods, and this is the level or size of college in which I want to work at. Those are fine. Those are opportunities where they're at. So is it difficult to find? No, it's not. And the great thing is we have a lot of ongoing agreements with places already.
Additionally, do you have any special alumni stories you'd like to share, specific places where individuals have landed, high schools, colleges, professional sports, etc.?
Yeah, so I've been in this role now I've been at CMU now for going on my 11th year. And in this role, as program director, I'm going into my 3rd year of a 50-year program. So when we listen to alumni, I like to see what's going on and what's posted within our social media platform. But I also like to hear and read about some of the stories of what some of the students that I've had an opportunity to interact with within the last 11 years. And with special stories, I think that the interesting thing is just learning about what they're doing, how CMU prepared them. And one of the stories that I always tell students is you'll never get a true respect of the education that you received at CMU until you go somewhere else and you start to interact with other people and you realize, what your skill set is versus possibly people other places. Sometimes our students are going out into various locations and they're actually helping other students prepare for the national examination in which they have to pass. I have students, I received a letter from a student, I believe it was last week. I think I sent that one to you, Tom, of a student who had expressed that one of their assignments is to write a letter to a prior professor or instructor of what that meant to them and how they impacted their lives. And I got a really nice one from a former student who said they were kind of intimidated by me, but they were also respectful of the fact of how I pushed them and put them in the position of where they're at today. I had a conversation a couple days ago with one of our alumni who's an assistant athletic trainer for the Texans, and he enjoys it quite a bit. I've had some conversations with an alumni who's an athletic trainer for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Detroit Red Wings. And then obviously when we look at these big schools, I also want to talk with those who are at the high school levels and the college levels as well. So there's a lot of great stories that I could share, just through the conversations that I've had with these particular individuals. And most of those, highlighted stories that I like to talk about is how did CMU do? What did we do to help you? And it's like, oh, I can't even explain it. And so it's kind of those conversations. So it's really exciting to see the success of our alumni.
I should probably know the answer to this question, but I don't. That's why I'm going to ask it. Do community colleges have athletic trainers?
Depends on who. Yeah, it depends on the whether or not they have sports. So we had an alum who was here across town, who was working women's basketball for a while, and then they came over here and helped out. So if they have sports, they're going to have an athletic trainer.
I was curious because a lot of students like to go play basketball or whatever sport, continue their career at a community college, and it makes sense to have trainers there, obviously, athletic trainers. Any other questions from the folks that are out there? could always ask Greg Zimmerman to pipe in and say something. He's an alum of the program. Uh-oh, put you on the spot, Greg. Can't hear you, though. Sorry.
The plaque, Ryan, is in our office.
We'll say if there's no additional questions, we can give it a couple more minutes, but just as a reminder, we will go ahead and send out this PowerPoint presentation. And as Blaine said, there was a link in there earlier that you can click on to get more information about the history and Hall of Fame. Is there anything else you'd like to close with, Blaine or Dean Masterson?
I'll let Blaine go first, then I'll have my closing moments. That's fine.
No, just thank you for everybody for taking part in this today. Again, we're excited about the program. We're excited about the growth of the program. We're excited about the fact that we're a program that's one of the largest in the country. And as I've mentioned to Dean Masterson, Associate Dean Zimmerman, that's my plan. Is to continue that growth. When people think of athletic trainers, whether it's in the state or out of the state, I want them to think of CMU, and it's not only the legacy of where it started, but where we're going to go. And I think it's the legacy and the history of the program that's really, it got on a great start, and we're just going to continue to move forward with it.
A couple of closing comments for myself. One's personal. Ken was kind of the surrogate grandpa for my kids when they were growing up, so the program has a special spot in my heart for that. I've known Ken since we came here, gosh, a long time ago. So I know that he's staring down at us from above, very proud of what's going on with this program. And I want to thank Blaine and his entire team for continuing that legacy, and in many ways expanding that legacy, because as you say, things are changing now with the master's degree. It's a whole new game. And, Ken would be very proud of the fact that we're advancing athletic training nationally through our master's program, and certainly a big supporter of that. And I'm not sure you've mentioned it, but the lab downstairs is honored in Ken and Ron's name. You might have saw the faces on the plaque, but the plaque is down there. So their legacy is forever in that lab as well. So it's a wonderful dedicated space for them. Having said that, any other questions before we say goodbye to everybody? Again, I want to thank Blaine for his contribution today. Obviously, it was mostly him talking, and the folks in Alumni House, thank you very much for getting this together. And we look forward to picking another subject in the near future and continuing these conversations.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.